So, what to say about Canto Ostinato?
I heard about this piece, Canto Ostinato by Simeon Ten Holt, from my partner.
It was a late discovery for me, although I really love minimalism, like John Adams is one of my favorite composers, Philip Glass. I discovered this piece through YouTube.
He liked it very much and he suggested that it would be maybe interesting for us to play it.
It was unlike everything I heard before. It had the usual characteristics of a minimal piece, but at the same time it was something completely different.
So I heard it, I really liked it, and I thought, yeah, why not? It's made of a lot of small cells, musical cells, that repeat themselves as much as you want. That's the freedom that the composer gives to the performer.
You always must have a leader who gives the cues to go on. It's like this attention that you must be there all the time.
The composer's instructions are that you move from one to another with other instruments at the same time. It is all written down, didn't put dynamics, he didn't put accents. It's all there, for you to make phrasing as you wish. Once you make phrasing different, it's another piece, So it will stay with you for a lifetime, you will come back to it again and again. And for a creative person, this type of composition is never finished.
When it comes at the final stages before the performance, you really have to perform it from beginning until the end. It doesn't make sense just to try a part at the end or a part in the middle. If you start from the middle, it will not be the same like if you start from the beginning.
And then opportunity showed itself when the Greek National Opera organized a religious festival. They do actually sometimes just concerts, not only operas. And we suggested to them perhaps we could play this piece because it's an alternative version of a religious festival, It has a mesmerizing effect, this piece. It's minimalistic in essence. They said yes, so we did it.
You can have it for two pianos, even for solo piano, for different kinds of keyboard instruments.
We did it for two pianos. It's a complex piece. There are a lot of layers of music. We have to play all the time. There is no pauses. Your hands are on the piano, on the keyboard all the time.
There was the motoric element, the repetition, of course. But at the same time, it's like an immersion into a new world of sounds, of emotions.
So this repetition drives you to a little bit altered state of mind. It's fantastic, actually. And the funny thing is, when I started practicing this piece, I realized that it had this effect on me. So I was laughing with it because I really dozed off. I didn't really fall asleep, but I forgot the time, I didn't know where I was somewhere else. It has phenomenal effect.
You have to be at any time completely aware what you are doing with your partner. It needs a lot of stamina, like physical stamina and mental stamina, which I think is the most important thing.
Well, the physical challenges are there. You have to play with no pauses.
It's Canto Ostinato. Ostinato is something like a form that repeats ad infinitum, like without ending. You don't have to put too much force into it. but you always play the same movement, and can be a little bit tiring for the hand. Usually in the piano you change technique, so the hand somehow readjusts. You can rest a little bit somehow.
The more creative you are, the better focused you are. You think about the dynamics, the accents, the phrasing, and so on. You don't get tired when you play it, and you get into it. Once you're into it, you're into it. You know.
The more you play, the more strong you become and accustomed to it.
The composer gave certain instructions. He wrote the music and everything. But he gives to the performer a great amount of freedom that I love very much. I like to have my input in the piece, structural input and my dynamics, phrasing and all that, without messing up the idea of the composer.
The rhythm also is quite fixed, but what actually you can do is play with articulation, put stress into certain notes like accents and phrasing. At the same time, it has this playfulness, the voices that interact with each other. When you play your part alone, it's one thing. When you communicate with your partner, it's quite something else.
You have to stay in communication. You don't count, but you look at each other and you say, okay, now we move on. Some things maybe we fix, some melodical parts. Everything else, it's done on the spot. We opted for the 1-hour version of this piece. This was the commission. The commission was up to an hour.
It's up to you how many repetitions you are going to make. You could go on for hours and hours. It always makes sense to me to have some kind of duration that you feel comfortable with, not to make an overkill just for the sake of it.
My ideal timing was there around 45 minutes to 50 minutes. I have to admit this was my favorite. I move from section to section naturally. I don't force to stay in one place. I just move very naturally. And I think also for the audience, this is maybe the best timing. Anything further than that, up to 2 hours and more, I think it's nicer perhaps to play it in a less formal setting. It's not a concert anymore. It's more like meditative session or even a ritual.
This piece is like life. You have to go through it. Happiness, sad things, you go down, then you have to lift yourself up and you have to go on. I feel this piece represents everything, and that's why it's so popular with the audience as well, because they can relate to it. They feel that there is something. Audience really enjoys the communication that the performers have between them. I would like to try something more than an hour, let's say, to go up to 2 hours, 2.5 hours. Maybe it would be more possible if you have more interpreters than 2.
It's going to be very different if we opt for a longer version.
What is very interesting about this piece also is that the acoustics of the space can really influence the way you perform it.
As I said, we played it in the alternative stage of the Greek National Opera House. It's a fantastic, very beautiful hall with great acoustics. We had 2 Faziolis on our disposal, great pianos.
Very well tuned, very well conditioned. It really inspires you to do more.
So we could really enjoy this piece. We could make so many colors. We could hear each other so very well.
The sound that was coming out was so beautiful and amazing that for one moment I just let myself go, but I shouldn't have. I mean, you have to be always aware of what you're doing, and really it was something unbelievable. This was like a match in heaven, so I'm very thankful for it.
The whole experience for us was very, very enjoyable and very, very gratifying. And as we saw in the end, also for the audience was really, really grateful, and they enjoyed it very much.
It is quite a trip.
The harmonies and the melodies, they are not that contemporary. They look a little bit to the 19th century. It has a retro feel, but the performing instructions are very, very modern, are very contemporary. In my book, it's a very modern piece. It's honest, and you cannot get more creative and more artistic than that.
It's my intention, it's really my deep wish to continue exploring the music of Ten Holt. I'm already checking out some other pieces like Meandre, Horizons. Of course, continue also with Canto Ostinato, maybe even have a larger ensemble to perform it.
We did our version now, and I'm looking forward to coming back to it again and again and doing different things and different durations, different dynamics, and so on.
I really recommend for other people to look into him because he's quite something.